Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. Let's turn to page 67 of the Grade 5 Discovering Music Theory workbook. And this is the final page on this section of instruments and also voice ranges too. And I suggest that you use this final page as a revision exercise. So perhaps first of all, try exercise 5 on your own and just test yourself. Then pop back into the video and we'll check that through. And then I'll start you off on the final test at the bottom of the page. And then you can perhaps go off and do a little bit more. I do suggest that you do try these on your own. So I'm hoping that you've had a go of exercise 5. If not, do press pause and try now. And now I'm hoping that we can check these through together. So which clef is most used by the viola? And that's the alto clef. Now, which of these is a percussion instrument? Remember that percussion means it's basically struck. And obviously the viola is a string instrument where we use a bow. We pluck the harp, we blow the cor anglais, it's the castanets where they strike against each other. The piccolo belongs to the woodwind family. It's kind of closely associated with the flute. Which is the lowest sounding string instrument? And the big clue here is the word bass. It's the double bass, which we know is a transposing instrument because it plays an octave lower than written. Now here's a term that relates to a particular group of instruments. Pizzicato means plucked, and that would only be appropriate to the cello, which is a string instrument where we can pluck the string, because of course clarinets and trombones are blown and timpanis are struck with a beater. And then finally, which is higher in range than the alto? And that's the soprano, the highest of the voice ranges. In this last section, we have the opportunity to test our progress. And so we have here a chart, a table, which gives us the opportunity to list all of the new instruments that have appeared on Grade 5 Discovering Music Theory. You can find these at the beginning of the chapter in red, but I'll go ahead and just give you these new instruments. And if I give you the instrument name, and then perhaps you can test yourself and see what you can think to fill in on this table. And then we can check through together and see what we can come up with between us. And so the instruments that we have to think about are the harp, the piccolo, the cor anglais, tubular bells, the xylophone, the marimba, the glockenspiel. Spelling these is an endeavour, isn't it? The vibraphone, the Chalesta, the tambourine, the castanets, tam-tam, and the triangle. So if you want to go ahead and now just see what you can list, decide which family it belongs to, which clef it uses, and just some general information just to help you to keep bringing this to mind. As I've mentioned previously, it's so much better if you can see these instruments in action, as it were. So watch some orchestral music, or do a little bit of research and watch some videos, or even better, go to a concert if you can. But outside of that, let's just try and think of some little bits of interesting facts just to help us to keep these instruments in mind. So I'm hoping that you've had a go of this. So let's go ahead and fill in this chart and see if there's anything that you've perhaps missed that might be helpful to remember. So the harp obviously is part of the string family. It's got strings that are plucked. So that's the string family. Now it's got a massive range of notes. It's one that equals the piano pretty much. So it uses both treble and bass clefs. The fact that the range is almost as wide as the piano is quite an interesting fact, and it might be helpful to remember that it's got kind of a foot to it. It's not only strings, which has 3 pedals, rather similar to the piano actually, but the pedals work differently because they work to adjust the pitch. They alter the pitch chromatically, and that's how it extends its range. So that's interesting. So it sort of presses a pedal and it kind of manoeuvres strings to extend the pitch. So let's press on. The piccolo. Well, that's part of the woodwind family. And it's a super high instrument. It plays in the treble clef like its partner, the flute. It uses the treble clef. Now it transposes up an octave. So what you read, you get actually an octave higher. It's only really orchestral. It's never really used as a solo instrument. So not solo as such. There might be some sort of strange 20th century pieces, but really, you know, to be practicing this as a solo instrument, you're going to need earplugs. It's really high. Let's press on. So the cor anglais, well, that's part of the woodwind again. And it's a double reed. I suppose that could go here, couldn't it? It's a double reed instrument. I should put that there. And it's quite high. It's related to the oboe. Which helps us to remember that it's a treble instrument. It's a beautiful lyrical instrument. Now, the word cor is horn, and it's English horn, so it's like it says horn English, and it's the English horn. Although it's a woodwind instrument, not brass, that helps us to sort of pin it back to the heritage, and knowing that it's a horn will help us to remember that it transposes down a perfect fifth. So tubular bells, they are percussion, simply because percussion is something that you hit. So you strike these with a mallet. There are lots of bells that sort of extend in length, varying pitch. Primarily you play single notes. So it's a definite pitch. Just trying to squish it in here. You play single note melodies, as it were, or single notes at least. You can play a melody. You can double stop with two mallets, as it were, but only very slowly. Now, if we just press on to these next few, we can perhaps link together from the vibraphone and the xylophone. They kind of fall together, where they all sort of part of the same family. They're all part of the percussion family. So we can just go ahead and say those. And they're all the same kind of appearance, where they're all lots of different bars that are laid out on a stand, on a rack, that are hit with various beaters. So they're all going to be tuned percussion. Oh, I should just say tubular bells. Sorry, they are treble as well. They play quite high melodies. Now, let's move on to these. So the xylophone, it's a percussion instrument. It's definite pitch. You can play a melody on those. And the tubular bells and the xylophone as well are treble clef. They have treble melodies. Now, the difference here is the xylophone has rosewood bars, giving a warm, lyrical kind of tone. The marimba, although it's laid out the same, and again it's a treble instrument that has definite pitch, and this is also rosewood. However, here the marimba has a resonator that gives it a wider, and it's also got a wider range. So we have a different sort of tonal effect because of the resonator underneath each bar. So each bar has a resonator underneath it to give it that extra kind of echo, as it were. And it's a wider range than the xylophone. The xylophone and the glockenspiel are perhaps mostly associated with kind of school orchestral instruments, really. The glockenspiel, again, it's a treble instrument, and it's definite pitch. I keep doing the P there, don't I? Definite pitch. However, here we have metallic bars. And it's because of that, it's got a really slow decay. And so you may have to just stop them with your fingers to dampen the sound if you want it to kind of stop sounding, as it were. And then the vibraphone, again, that's the treble. And again, we have metallic bars. Oh, it's a definite pitch again. So we can play tunes. Metallic bars. And this time, it's metallic bars that are over a resonator. And so you're going to have to kind of dampen the sound with your fingers. Interestingly, though, there is some pedalling available on this, rather like the piano pedalling, where we can kind of sustain and dampen those. And we can also use finger dampening as well. That's my understanding of that. Now the Chalesta. This is percussion again, because basically it's something that's hit or struck, albeit this time, instead of by using beaters, this is using different mechanisms. It looks rather like the piano, and it uses treble and bass clefs. However, although it's like a small piano, hammers, instead of striking strings as it does in a piano, it strikes metal bars, giving it that metallic kind of music sound. kind of a watery, metallic, tinkly sound. And then we carry on in the percussion family. So it's still percussion, but this time it's indefinite pitch. Or we'd say untuned. So there's no clef involved. And the tambourine, it's familiar to us really. We can perhaps underestimate its value in the orchestra, but it's a wooden hoop. Hoop with metal jingly things like metal jingles. I'm not doing very well at multitasking, writing and talking here, am I? And it's got like a calf skin head which is stretched over the hoop, so we can kind of bash it as well as jangle it. I'm sure it sounds more musical than I'm explaining. Castanets, so again it's percussion because we kind of hit them against each other. Actually it's indefinite pitch, so there's no clef involved. We don't play tunes, we just get rhythmic effects. And this sort of, although if we associate these with the Spanish kind of flamenco, in an orchestral setting they are kind of paddle mounted. So that's that. Now here we have the tam-tam, which is again percussion. It's indefinite pitch again, so there's no clef. It's gong-like. However, it's not to be confused with the gong, because the gong is definite pitch. It can be tuned, rather like the timps. And this one is untuned or indefinite pitch. And interestingly, so it's struck off centre. You don't strike it in the centre. And actually, if you kind of shake it as you play it, there are special effects. There's like a sizzle effect that you can have if you kind of shake it as you play it. So there's lots of opportunity for experimentation here. And then last of all, we have the humble triangle, which again is part of percussion. And it's untuned or indefinite pitch, so we don't have any clef. And it's just a single rod that is bent into the familiar triangle shape. And it's struck with, and it creates like a really long delay metallic ring. So you're going to have to dampen it. And again, you can have vibrato effects. If you shake it, it can have vibrato effects. And we need to not underestimate these instruments, their place in the orchestra, because for a percussionist, say for example the humble triangle, you can end up buying kind of the Ferrari version of the triangle, and the sound quality is reflected in the price. And I've said before, I always feel for the percussionist, because he's or she is usually dashing around between all these different things, and then they'll have 2 mallets in each hand to dash off and play a bit of a Glock solo, and then they have to dash back and crash a tam-tam here and there, and then they dash back and do this, and it really does add such a lot to the orchestral music that we enjoy so much. And so if you just take a moment, if you can, to just listen to some of these orchestral pieces that we've discussed, or that might kind of highlight these various instruments, it's immensely enjoying. It's so rewarding to listen to it, and as you're sitting there you can feel kind of smug because you're doing some work and some revision at the same time as enjoying yourself. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.